Welcome back to a brand new episode of Energy Conversations, where we bring across the local and regional energy sector in a way that's very understandable and very digestible. Today, we are very fortunate to be on site at TOFCO's facility on the Labre Industrial Estate. And with me, I have two very, very smart, intelligent gentlemen joining us today for the conversation. I'll leave it up to them to introduce themselves.
Hi, morning. I'm Javed Mohammed, General Manager at TOFCO.
Hi, morning. Lee Sahadeo, Project and Estimating Manager for TOFCO.
So you can see today that we have the big guns out, right? So we have a lot of conversation to cover today. So firstly, you introduce yourselves, you give an overview of what you do, right? What I would like for you to give our viewers is a general overview or understanding of what it is TOFCO does and the role they play in our local energy industry.
All right. Well, I mean, the company was formed in 2004. It's a joint venture, as most people would know, between Chet Morrison Contractors, who are now considered Morrison Energy Services out of the US, and Wellfab Limited, which is from Claxonville in Trinidad. The company is entering 20 years this year. We celebrate 20 years in April, which is a major achievement for us. But, you know, as we started our operations in 2004, we were primarily doing what you would call greenfield projects, which are new build facilities for offshore, which you would call your topside and jackets. Right, the company has diversified its operations over the last 20 years, where we've gone into brownfield, which would be maintenance work for these facilities, as well as subsea, which obviously we know it's a major paradigm shift, where we are doing structural components for the subsea market and piping as well for the Guyana region now, where we've also branched off to a joint venture in Guyana in 2021. So in a nutshell, I mean, we are the only fabricator in the region for offshore platform constructions. We've been able to be a lot more competitive with the Gulf of Mexico, where platform construction was built prior to 2003. And we've been lucky enough to look at market segmentation, where we've gone into the region, which would be Guyana, and we are now focusing beyond in 2026 and beyond for Suriname.
And I feel a sense of pride knowing that, you know, our country is on the map for a lot of things, but we're capable of doing this now. As you said, we're able to compete with such a big player as the Gulf of Mexico, you know. And I think that's a great feat and that's a great achievement. I didn't know it's 20 years, and I'm glad we chose this year to do this episode with you, because 20 years is a big achievement. So you give me a brief overview of the past, but what I would like you to kind of segment into now, and Lee, I think you might be able to touch on this for me. Sure. What is currently going on in TOFCO's quote-unquote pipeline? I don't mean to be, you know, on the pun pipeline, but what is currently going on?
So currently we are, our scope right now, currently we are doing a platform construction for one of the major oil and gas companies in Trinidad or in the region. For fact, the project entails, our scope was to procure, fabricate, outfit and load out a platform which consists of the deck, the jacket and the piles. The project, the overall estimated ton is over almost 6,000 short tons, where the platform, the deck is around 3,000 tons, the jacket is around 3,500 tons, and the piles are around 2,600 tons.
That's pretty amazing, and I think that the fact that you have a reputation that precedes you to accomplish these things, and as you can look at the wall, accomplish it on time. All I'm seeing going straight across is on time, on time, on time, right? So what I'd like to ask you from this general public perspective is, how long do you estimate that these kind of projects usually take, like an average?
So from procurement stage, procurement was like 6 months, and then the fabrication duration is like 12 months. Okay. So it's like 18 months total. We actually started the project, was awarded last year around April, and the scheduled completion is at fourth quarter this year.
Okay. And you use a word there, and I would like for our viewers to kind of get a better, because I understand just how much goes into this, but what I would like for them to understand as well is, can you explain that term fabrication? What exactly does that mean, and how does it relate to the entire project scope?
Well, fabrication, so the fabrication entails, so we receive the material in a raw state. Raw state means, like for example, beams, tubulars, whatever, those items come as like a steel component. And internally, what we do nestings where we nest each component that makes up the platform, and we actually release those drawings to the field, and the field use those drawings to cut, cope, and assemble the component.
Okay, and the components would be that offshore?
Yes.
Okay.
The components of deck, jacket, or pile.
Great. And in these projects, it's not a one-man feat or one company feat, right? It's something that requires a lot of collaboration, and that is a theme we try to bring across throughout our energy conversations episodes. Now, on a RAMS logistics perspective, I know we've worked in the past with you guys on a lot of projects. Me, Steph, we've been down here, right? We see the actual communication and the dedication it takes to get these projects off the ground. How would you, or what would you say is the driving factor for that collaboration and the importance of collaboration for local energy service companies to achieve projects like this, to not just impact our local energy sector and our economy, but make a long-lasting and impressionable impact on the wider, I would say, global energy scape?
So, I mean, Nisha, if you look at it this way, right, seeing that the company's been here, like we said, for 20 years, our last major project, and we look at it major being the entire puzzle, right, would have been in 2010, which was Surrett. We can name that platform because it's now installed, right, for BPTT. Now, after Surrett, our next project would have been Juniper, but we didn't do the entire project here. We managed the entire project, but we built the top side at TOFCO, and the jacket was managed in Gulf of Mexico. Then after Juniper, there was a break again, and then we went to Cassia, right? Cassia C jacket was built here. The top side was built in Altamira in Mexico. And then for Osprey, we were successful in the piles because at that time, COVID obviously was rampant in Trinidad. The pandemic was at its peak. And in the US, the pandemic was basically getting close to an endemic, if you want to call it that. But there were also a lot of restrictions globally with transportation and material prices and shipping costs. So the competitiveness was very, very tough as well. Risk was high, schedule was high. For us, winning this project is a tremendous achievement for the company, for the country, because we have not been able to land 100% of the project being managed and delivered in TOFCO's yard since 2010. So all focus obviously has been on this project for the last 3 years. We've been working closely with the client, obviously trying to demonstrate where we were to where we are now and how we were able to survive through the pandemic of COVID. A lot of companies were unfortunate. They weren't able to sustain people, sustain operations, etc. So being competitive was our first goal, but in doing that, we had to collaborate with all the suppliers and all the vendors that we work with in Trinidad, because our main game is local content. We don't just want to use the term. We want to show and demonstrate that. So we had a lot of conversations with our vendors, our contractors, and let them know, hey, if we don't win it, they don't win it, basically. So it's a collaborative approach. Your prices need to be competitive in order to assist us when we compete against the giants in the Gulf of Mexico. And we were able to demonstrate that, right? I mean, the thing about it is you will have potential subcontractors and vendors that are not going to be successful, but that's just how it is. When you don't have a project or continuity of projects that we had from 2004 to 2010, we could have engaged almost everyone. But then that break now allows us to go to a competitive playing field. And when we look at the tenders and we look at the competitiveness, some may win, some may not. But it's not that we don't have the capabilities, but what we found and what we keep finding is that, sometimes we're challenged based on material grades and strengths and so forth that's not locally available. So when we look at a project, material purchase, you look at least 80% is outside of Trinidad, right? Because of the grades. The other 20, we will give local companies an opportunity. And we sit with them, we speak with them, what we do, we bring them to the table. So there's an open playing field. we'll bring 3 competitors in the room and say, hey guys, this is the scope. We need you to work with us in order to win it, and best luck to the most competitive person. I think it goes further now to look at the economics, as you mentioned, that's derived from a major project in Trinidad. It's not just the revenue generated. Yes, there's a lot of foreign exchange generated as well, but you look at the direct and indirect economic impacts that it will have. The direct impacts would be that of us being able to provide employment, to be able to pay salaries, and then you go indirect where you go to subcontractors, and it goes even further when subcontractors go out in the community and you engage the supermarkets, the gas stations, the restaurants, all those things are measures that goes all the way down, right? So you look at a major project, yes, it's great, we want to have it here, but the benefit is holistic. And it's measured based on exactly. It's measured based on the size of projects. So if we get 100%, then there's greater returns to the community. And outside of the community environments, people go salaries they take in, and they go to shopping they go to shopping malls. You can't really measure, but it's there. It's there. If you get 1/3, then it's obviously less. So it's something we're focusing on. I mean, Lee and his team has worked very hard. It's a collaborative approach internally by us. The management has supported us tremendously. The board has supported us tremendously in our decision making and support. EOG, the client is pretty much impressed with what we've done so far. And moving forward, we really are eager to deliver a project that's going to show that local content is real. We have 1 expat on the project. We intend to keep it like that versus previous projects having 6, 7, 8, up to 10. And that goes to show exactly the direction we're heading in. And that's what we're trying to emulate in the region as well, extending it to Guyana. We want Guyana to be TOFCO. We want Guyana to be Trinidad. When we started off here in 2004, most of the people here knew what process plant work is. Point Lisas, Atlantic,
Downstream,
jacket and topside was new to us. Flares new to us, and being able to develop the skill set over the years is what we want to emulate outside of Trinidad as well. But to do that, we must have continued work, and the support of the government is important, and we've seen that coming along. It's just up to us now to demonstrate that there's a no-nonsense approach, and it trickles further now to the community. And we're not highlighting any negatives there. We've explained to them the situation, and they're also eager for the work because they know that it's been depressed for a while.
Because for one, this job, we're going to see 250 plus employees, all local. As what Java mentioned, we only have 1 expat. And I mean, that expat was here from day one. So he have a great understanding on the job site as well as the personnel he's managing.
And the culture. But when we look at the skill sets that we have in the yard, we try to ensure, we ensure, as a matter of fact, all of our personnel are certified to international standards. Whether you are a blaster or painter, you have a certain body that you have to get certified to: riggers, scaffolders, welders, fabricators. If we do have helpers in the yard, which we do, that's a small number, right? So what we're doing is that when guys come in or ladies come in as a helper, our intentions are to not let them leave the yard as a helper. Because what that does is you find that you have a lot of people trying to get a job as a helper because they've not been able to get the exposure to be trained, right? Obviously, training comes with a budget, right? So if you're employed with TOFCO, then we could afford to put some budgets in place for training because you're already working with us. So we try to get them to leave here, whether they want to be a fitter or move to a fabricator, a rigger, a scaffolder, or welder, as the case is. It gives them opportunity. So the next time there's an opportunity for employment, the pool is bigger. So you may want more fabricators, you may want more riggers, you may want more scaffolders. And that then creates upward movement where you have other helpers who couldn't get employed because of restrictions and numbers can then come in. And that's what we're trying to do to show that it's not a short-term effect. It has to be medium to long-term. But they have to want it. But we will create that, right? And that's for the age group that we are working. But then we've gone a step further since 2019, where we've done the PASS program, which is preparing all students for success, which has now targeted the primary school students that are doing the SEA exams. And that was driven by the then former MP, Ms. Nicole Olivier, who came forward with us, and we looked at what can we do for the future, for the youngsters, right? For the homes, for the parents, for the teachers. And we went into that program where the pass rate was very, very low, right? When I say low, maybe less than 25% for a few of the schools. So we couldn't do all the schools, so we picked maybe 4 schools that had the lowest rates, pass rates. And at the end of our first year, we went over 80% on those 4 schools. So we saw a tremendous improvement. We've since maintained it since 2019. We're entering our 5th year, right? Our previous HR manager, Ms. Rhonda Farrell, was instrumental with Nicole Olivier at the time, Mr. Nicole Olivier. We've now continued with that. We have the services of a retired specialist, Dr. Yvette John, and she's been spearheading that, and we intend to continue along that way, right? We've seen the improvements, and that program is here to stay.
I like when communities are positively impacted, not just, building like a talent pool or recruitment as it relates to employment, but I like when communities are impacted from a young age, because we want to develop a culture. We don't just want to say, okay, when you're 18, 19, you get a job and you go out. You want them to develop this culture from young. Hey, I want to get into this. I want to be, a part of this. This is part of my community. This is part of who I am. And I think that companies that take a vested interest, because at Ramps, that's something we do. We always try to positively impact the communities in which we exist. That is a core value of ours. It's something that we try to do day in and day out. And I'm really glad that the companies that we collaborate with and we work with have that same ethos and that same work ethic, right? Just to segment a little bit, we spoke about local content, but over the past couple of years, we see energy conferences approaching, and we've seen over the past couple of years that the theme has surrounded the energy transition, right? Again, we don't want this to be another buzzword, and we don't want it to be something that passes us by, or it's something that we are late to catch up to as a country. We want to start getting in the habit of doing this now, right? As it relates to sustainability and innovation, what is, I would say, TOFCO's scope on that, if you all have implemented anything at all yet, or if you all are looking to implement something along the lines of sustainability, innovation, any sort of green technologies, or anything within that scope itself?
So our current strategic planning is looking at, where we want to be, right? Because we've looked at some scenarios, business as usual. Do we want to enter into a new market? Do we want to widen our services and segment our services elsewhere? Obviously, to maintain a facility of this size and overheads, business as usual is not going to cut it, because we don't see the work coming one after the other, right? So we have been looking at other areas. We've already gone into subsea, but now we're looking at green and renewable energy, which is important to us. The market is out there, and it's a competing market because the region has not gone fully renewable as yet, right? But we've done quite a bit of participations in technical assessments, etc., for doing offshore renewable structures, because the concept is quite similar to that of a jacket. Right? Because your subsea, the foundation for these renewable structures are similar. And we've already started to put ourselves into that label, or that vision, I should say, of going green, right? But it has a way to go, right?
Yeah.
So to get there, we have a few hurdles to cross, which we are working on closely. We are also seeing opportunity for reverse process, because we do have some decommissioning activities coming up from offshore facilities that are going to be abandoned. Right, and we are looking at that as well to let the stakeholders become aware that just as it is that we can send it out, we can also bring them back in. Right, so that's our next focus as well, because they will have a lot of facilities. From what we understand, various operators may have some opportunities coming up post 2026 where we want to get involved too. So there are some things we're looking at there, but then also assessing the facility, because in order to shift into different segments, you have to do some upgrades, right? And what we have right now has been competing globally with the lack of infrastructure, but that just goes to show that the skills that we have here are equally competitive to be able to build those types of subsea components that doesn't have the required surface. We don't have a fully paved yard. Some of these entities have full concrete throughout, They have huge covered areas, etc. And we're doing it minus some of that. So that just goes to show if we have the capital that we can invest based on the projection of work, we will be able to do that to widen our services to support these segments that needs to keep us going, right? One of the things I didn't mention that we're extremely proud of is our HSE record. We have crossed the 11.5 million man hours on site without a lost time incident. And that is a tremendous record globally in terms of the safety statistics. We carry that close to our hearts, to our employees, to their families. At the end of the day, as efficient as we can be, if you have someone that's injured in a very, very negative manner in terms that we have to deliver a message to someone that you've lost someone, we don't know how we're going to operate doing that. I don't want to be the bearer of that bad news.
Yeah.
And the minute you have a major incident, all the good work goes down because at the end of the day, you're going to lose someone. So that's our priority. We want to have a sustainable and efficient operation, but we want to make sure employees are remaining safe in order to get there, or to remain there, I should say.
I'm glad that you just touched on sustainability and a long-term vision. What I would like for you to kind of round up the conversation for me with, and I'm going to pitch this out to both of you. In terms of TOFCO and your long-term vision, your path towards sustainability, the goals you would like to achieve, let's say in the next 10 to 20 years, right? You've accomplished 20, you want to see a lot more 20s coming down the line, right? As it relates to Trinidad and Tobago's energy industry, that is our bread and butter, right? That is what our country thrives on. That is what feeds our people. That is the lifeblood of our economy. What would you say is TOFCO's role in that, let me say, next 20 years within the energy sector, 30 years, whether it's going green, whether it's more platforms, whether you have a totally new vision? How do you see TOFCO fitting into that? What are your goals? What do you look forward to? And also, if you want, you could also touch on your projections or your, again, what you would like to see come out of the energy sector apart from TOFCO. I mean, everybody wants it to grow. Everybody wants it to thrive. Everybody wants it to transition into, we're not going to do away with oil and gas, but we want to see some sort of balance. We want to see a hybrid energy mix at some point where, you could divert that natural gas downstream or something along those lines. What are your personal views on that as well as your professional as it relates to TOFCO and otherwise?
TOFCO is equipped right now. We equipped to do platform fabrication. We are looking into the green. We just ventured into subsea, and what Javid mentioned, we are in alliance with Guyana now. We have a joint venture there. So, I mean, it's just to continue that focus. I mean, we know subsea is going huge now. We know Guyana looks like they have a lot of future work.
Yeah.
So I think some focus we need to probably spend across there. So in terms of the vision, we probably need to look at spending some more time with the Guyana work. In Trinidad, I mean, we know on upcoming it do have some major projects in the pipeline. Some platform fabrication for other stakeholders in the oil and gas, which we are trying to keep and maintain the work here locally. That is our goal for probably in the 5 years. I'm looking at 5 years right now. For the near future after that, I mean, it look like subsea, it look like green, which we probably need to have conversations with our stakeholders to kind of venture across there. But yeah, so our vision is to ensure that we maintain as much as workforce we can over this period and continue working with the clients to ensure that we try and keep all the work done locally, especially locally.
Yeah.
Because I know we do have a good effect on the local market with local guys, with local subcontractors, because a lot of work, even for this project, a lot of things is driving on this project locally.
Yep.
And we are proud to say that everything, not all, but most of it is done local with local supervision.
I'm glad you all have that focus and that outlook. We want to build strong Caribbean brands. We want to build brands that, the Caribbean could look at and compete on a global scale with. And you're already doing that. You said it yourself.
Right.
And I think that's a great focus to have. That is something to keep in mind. So, yeah.
And I mean, just to add to what Leah said, I think he basically hit the nail on the head, but just to go a little deeper, I think it's key for us that, as he mentioned, all eyes are on us for this project. Let's be real about it. I mean, it's been longly waited, but it's a critical project for us. It's a critical project for Trinidad. It's a critical project for continuity in this yard, right? I think it's also important for us that the employees that we have working for us are satisfied as much as possible. We continue to work on our employee relations and development of trust, because remember, what we have now is a few people coming back into the yard since for some time. They've been out for at least a year and a half, 2 years, and we've gone into the market to get some new blood as well into the facility to look at what options are out there, because we want to be able to grow the business. As Lee mentioned, we want to have a three-tier approach. We want to have a greenfield group for platform construction. We want to have a subsea group for work doing in Guyana and in the region. That may come up for Suriname as well. We want to have a group that can look at green if we have to go that route. And a fourth, we want to be able to maintain brownfield support, because every existing facility out there will have modifications as age goes along, right? And our forecasting has showed us that there are a lot of opportunities still for another 3 to 4 years, maybe in the greenfield approach at a minimum. And then there could be another 6 year on subsea. And then, as I mentioned, for decommissioning, there's another 3 to 4 year opportunity there. So, I mean, all in all, if you take it together, you have at least 15 years of potential continuity in this year, sustainable operations, where we can see the numbers increase, we can see the opportunities increase. We need to focus on succession planning. It's important for us, because as we start to widen, we want to be able to have the roles filled properly and show the clients that we not just focus on one area, because what we find is that happens sometimes. One client may have 2 different areas happening parallel. They may have a brownfield upgrade and a new build platform. But we need to demonstrate to them that being able to do greenfield doesn't take us away from brownfield, because that's where we specialize our services now. So we have entities kept for brownfield if we get work versus greenfield. So it doesn't give any doubt or create an element of doubt that schedule may be a problem, because we have not been late on any project since we started.
Also, too, I mean, now we're demonstrating it as well, because we do have some subsea work for some other oil and gas, major oil and gas stakeholders. We are doing same thing, subsea jumpers. So we do have that carded for this year as well, which we do have a different entire team seeing about that. So in terms of the operations, we kind of structure it where we have a team for each component, whether if it's greenfield, which is platform fabrication, brownfield, offsite work, or even subsea. And while the Guyana joint venture is a total different team as well.
I think the ability to demonstrate that capacity and capability simultaneously, again, is a very commendable thing, I should say. The last thing I want to round up on and kind of conclude our discussion, we always try to end on a positive note. So I would challenge you both. You can do it collaboratively or separately. It's up to you. What I would say 3 pieces of advice you would give to, let's say, an up-and-coming, some youth within the community, Laborie, Point Fortin, surrounding areas. What 3 pieces of advice you would give to them if they want to have some sort of opportunity within the local, and I'm stressing on the local energy industry, and impact their community positively by getting involved in a company that is in their company, that is in their community and is willing to give back. So it's like a full circle thing. What are 3 pieces of advice you would give to them?
I would say they must be willing, or they must want it, or they must be willing to want the opportunity. We will provide the opportunity. They must be willing to embark on it, and they must have a vision. They must have a plan and a goal. You see, the thing about it is we need to get away, and even myself sometimes, from the short term. You don't want to see what's happening a month from now. Start with the end in mind. Basically, you want an opportunity, you want to look at how someone dresses, you want to look at what someone drives, you want to look at where someone lives, how the lifestyle they have. That doesn't come overnight. It
Yeah.
takes a while, right? And peer pressure is an important, it's a funny thing. Peer pressure could create a lot of problems for people wanting to develop themselves. Don't let the past haunt you. Look forward to the future. But if you're looking to develop yourself, begin with the end in mind. You must have a goal. You must have a smart goal. You must plan yourself and have a vision.
Because a youth out there might have different skill set, so they need to know how to maximize the skill set. I mean, TOFCO we could provide different areas. Whether we do here fabrication, welding, scaffolding, painting, E&I. It depends on the individual, what skill set they have in mind. And obviously TOFCO will try and provide that and try to grow them in that avenue. But they need to have a vision and a plan.
You have to want to want
Want
it.
to want it, right.
And I think that's very important. So,
But lastly, I think it's also important that we have several companies that operate, and I'm not putting anyone on the spotlight, but if all the companies come together, right, and come up with a program and a plan, it would take the burden off of one trying to do everything. And that way it takes away the attention from the people that are looking for opportunity to only come for one entity. There could be training and development that doesn't have to be on a project that's going on now. People can become trained, they can become certified. That gives them a marketable opportunity, whether it be to work here, whether it be to work in a turnaround, whether it be to work outside. So that's something I think is important. We will do as much as we can. As I mentioned, budgets are critical. So you have to work within what we can do. And it's going to be a little unfortunate because we can't provide that for everyone.
Everyone, no.
And sometimes the optics behind it may seem as if we're not doing more. And that's the importance of how we're approaching ourselves with the community, because we're showing that we're trying to be as transparent as we can. And we're giving them an opportunity when they can grasp it. And it's simple to when we had the town hall. Just before we started the project, we had a town hall with the community, and they were eager to understand because we haven't had such for a while. And we explained to them, and the message to them and the support given to the MP, etc., to them is that, hey, not everyone is going to get an opportunity, but let's not spoil it. Let's be happy that some people can come in, and you need to want what they are doing. So you need to be in line for when the opportunity arises again. That's what I'm saying. It's critical that other entities try their best to support this facility, to keep the work here. We will do our part to do as best as we can. No injuries to persons, no incidents, no disruptions. We will maintain a quality product. We will maintain a delivery that's on time, go ahead, as the case may be. And 3 things I'll close on. 1, we are proud to say that we are still certified with a 100% score, right? We have a 2-year record recertification program. We are ISO certified. We have our recertification in June of this year. We are looking forward to that. And lastly, we continue to make inroads. So with the subsea arena, we would have been building the jumper spools, which is that unit that you can see up there after, which is a completed spool that goes to the seabed that assists with the extraction to the FPSOs, from the jumpers to the manifold to the FPSOs, through flexible lines. Those jumpers were prefabricated in the US or in Italy, depending on who's doing the work, and then brought into either the TOFCO yard or in Guyana.
Metrology.
Right? We are now building some of the kits in TOFCO this year, which was built outside. And that's without infrastructure to support that. So that just goes to show the confidence and the level of confidence some of these clients are putting with us. And efficiency. So it's important to us that we continue along that line to create an opportunity to provide employment and to continue to deliver.
That is very reassuring to hear that, we refer to the outside international companies as the big ones, right? We look up to them. And it's very reassuring, and it gives you some sort of confidence as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago that they have that confidence in our companies. As I said, it's about building strong Caribbean brands, and that they have this confidence in our capability, our capacity, our collaboration between local companies. And I would say, not to break off the trend of the seas, the local content development, right? So I'm glad that we touch on that not only on a TOFCO level, but in I would say a 360 or a holistic level, because you touch on that within the community, you touch on that within the energy sector, you touch on that as a company itself. And I think that's something that's very commendable. So, as I said, we end on a positive note.
Right.
Thank you so much for your time
I mean, we could go on speaking
Yeah.
on and on, but I have to do one thing though. I have to commend my staff, my management team. I mean, these guys and ladies have gone beyond in terms of the support that they've given to myself and the organization. Notwithstanding the guys in the field, because at the end of the day, it's a circle, it's a cycle, right? We will work together at what they term the front office, right? To keep the candles lit, to keep the iron, beat the iron when it's hot. They say that terminology. The guys in the yard are just as important. But what we do is that we create that environment where they have the trust. So we try to communicate as best as we can to let them know how they're performing, what they're doing, what's coming up, what's in the pipeline, etc. But I have a very, very good team. That the rest of them obviously is not in here, but I want to recognize them for their efforts. Definitely, without a doubt, they make it happen.
That's great to hear. And I think being able to, a lot of leaders, they sometimes, they know they have a great team, the projects are executed, and, good job, guys, let's go, next project. I'm glad that you were able to commend your team, give them that shout out, give them that appreciation and support.
That for me, that's more important than anything, as I said, for the entire interview, to recognize them and acknowledge them, because they make it happen. And I'm grateful for Lee and the entire squad. Yeah.
Definitely. And as I said, we've worked together on projects before. We recently did one last week. I'm glad to say that we've always had a positive experience on our end with TOFCO. We hope to have a lot more collaboration and communication in the future. And I think that after some years, even before COVID, where, there was that whole big crash in the oil price and by extension the gas price and all of that, we've kind of hit a little depression in the country. We've kind of been doom a little bit about production and all of that. But I'm glad to see that we now are developing, that excitement and that motivation to do more and that kind of uptick again. And I think it's very important to have that out there, because we don't want that doom and gloom mentality. We don't want anybody within the country to feel, oh my God, the oil and gas running out, what we going to do, and all of that, right? So I'm glad that we have that going on right now. Again, I want to say thank you again for your support, your time, and I really am looking forward to doing a lot more projects with you guys.
Most welcome. Thank you very much.
No, it's a problem at all.